Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by Houston Housewives of Finance. For more information on increasing your cash flow, becoming your own money manager, and to schedule your complimentary personal finance strategy, contact the Houston Housewives of Finance today at 1-844-700-4463.
The Sphere Network. Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today at advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. Elite Dental Wellness. At Elite Dental Wellness, Dr. Ashandra Baptiste understands that one of the biggest obstacles is dental fear. The vision at Elite Dental Wellness is to ensure every patient is treated with respect, ultimate care, patience, and love. Call us today to make an appointment at area code 713-789-8680.
What's up, folks? Welcome back to Technocrats. I'm your host, Gary Lee, also known as G. Hawkins. Of course, you can find me anywhere online, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. And I'm sitting here with the lovely Ari. Ari, how are you, my dear?
I'm doing well. How are you, Gary?
I am not so well.
Yeah.
Let me keep it
Let's keep it 100 for all the viewers out there, because
I'm going to keep it one Bitcoin
please
for
do.
all of you all.
Because it's real life in the studio.
It's not the best day, and that's okay.
That's all right.
I'm human.
That's
and
why I
know
said
what's
keep
funny?
it real life.
I used to think that I'm supposed to be like a machine, right?
No,
I'm
like
supposed
living
to
your
always
truth, man.
be perfect and always, I can never have a bad day. I've got to have, I've got to always put the best foot forward for everyone else. I lead this tribe, and that's true in some aspects, but I have to be real, and I can't continue to bottle things up.
Everybody has to have their moment.
Been non-copacetic since 8 a.m. Like, it's been one of those.
Well,
but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to do it to you, folks.
We're here with all you beautiful people.
We're here with you all. And we're here to give you the ins and outs of technology. Guess what? To empower the digital you. And I've got to make sure that at the end of the day, that mission still moves forward, especially when it comes to technology, because technology is that great equalizer. Hint, hint. So, but how was your trip? How'd everything go in LA?
The trip was awesome.
Good deal.
I had a good time. I ate a lot of ramen.
How about that?
That became my my mission of
And
the trip was to find the best ramen. Because you know what? Here, when I go and eat ramen, it's like I went to, and I won't mention the place, but I went to somewhere to eat ramen, and I just assumed that it was gluten-free. Because for all those that don't know, I have celiac disease and lupus. So my diet is pretty restrictive-ish. And so I went to this ramen place here thinking well, of course it's going to be rice noodles, because that's what ramen is.
Yeah.
And it was not. So then I was in Cali, and I'm finding all these places 100% lab tested gluten-free ramen noodles. And I'm like, yes, I will. So I was just bouncing around, just eating ramen for every meal for no reason.
That's
so
interesting.
it was a pretty cool trip. I didn't have any celebrity spottings, but I got to see some cool stuff, and I ended up on the rooftop of the W Hollywood, having a good time.
That's what's up.
I mean, ultimately it was a good first
Good
LA trip.
That's
How about yours? How was your trip?
Mine was cool. I did exactly what I wanted to do. My primary reason for going is to run. There's not a route, but I like to run from Santa Monica Venice up to Santa Monica.
Yes, I rollerbladed that.
Yeah,
on the pier.
Exactly.
I rollerbladed.
So I'm running right beneath that pathway under the pier, and you keep rolling, and there's a bridge I get to that I turn around, and then I come back. And a full length is about a little over 6. Well, I can make it whatever, but I run about a little over 6 miles. So I try to do a 10K, a little over 10K.
That's cool.
Like 11K.
Yeah,
And
I think that's cool. That's super cool. I think the best part of my trip was a good friend of mine, my roommate from college. She runs a nonprofit out there called Worthy of Love, and she throws a monthly major birthday party at the Union Mission on Skid Row for all of the kids living on Skid Row who have birthdays that month. And it's super cool. And there are like 270 kids right now like living on Skid Row, and when she first started 2 years ago there were 14. So it was a pretty cool thing for me to get to do and kind of see what she's been doing out there. So that was cool. That was probably one of the highlights of my trip, actually.
Definitely my highlight. Obviously my that was my reason to come out, not as intense. Got an opportunity to partake in dinner on Blanc for those that are tuned in or into,
and I was so jelly about
fancy, smancy dinner on Blanc, all white party. You do have to bring everything.
You bring all the things, just so you know.
Everything.
Every singular thing. Transportation, forks, knives, toothpick, napkin.
It is a trip.
And then you clean it all up.
Yeah, real rap.
So it's glamorous, but it's
So I enjoyed that, and my biggest takeaway while I was there was Universal Studios.
Really?
I'd never been to Universal Studios, never really, I guess, had a desire until building this place. Okay. And so now it's all about insight into what Hollywood does and how they do things in order to make it a bit more efficient and bring opportunities back to Houston. So that was probably my highlight of the trip.
Awesome.
Good LA trip.
Sounds like we both had good LA trips.
I know, right? But we've got good technology for you today.
Good technology.
We're going to make sure we keep it copacetic when it comes to this room and this show, giving you this insight. Now, once again, for those that are tuned in on Facebook Live, you just watch this here. We shoot roughly 15-20 minutes or so you've got to go subscribe to get the full episode. So keep that in mind. Today, we're going to kick things off in our digital trends. So digital trends is that topic or section where we're talking about a lot of things that have been transpiring and changing in the news lately, things that are migrating into a different direction. And Apple particularly has done a lot of has set a lot of trends that we've seen over the last couple of decades. One in particular is their continued efforts as it comes to the classroom. Speaking of the classroom, they've decided to bring about some new creativity options for the students, which of course involves their hardware. Ari, what's going on over here with Apple and these classrooms?
So some of you may or may not know, but Apple has created a program called Everyone Can Code, which my son has gone to. They frequently hold them in the Apple stores, and they use little like robots, and they teach the kids how to use their iPads and to code and make robots do certain things, and it's super cool. My son absolutely loves it. So they have developed a new program that is called Everyone Can Create. And that was launched in March of this year, but it's kind of just starting to really pick up steam.
Sure.
And so its main objective is to help teachers and students incorporate. So, we've kind of moved from this STEM focus to a STEAM focus, which would be putting the art.
Which I think is important.
I think it is important because, even, in my bio on the website, it says like I'm equal parts, analytical and creative. And I think, to me, I've always kind of lived by the mantra that creativity plus technology equals innovation. So I think that, the things
I like your formula,
right?
I just thought about it and put it together like that. Makes sense.
I think so. Yeah. For me, it's always been because I am much more a creative brain, like by nature, but I've always been very into like, I'm not a very like mathematical or sciencey, like traditional sciencey kind of person. But when it comes to tech, I've always been like a real natural at that. Like it's just been real easy for me to pick up, learn, adapt, utilize. So I think that space where the creatives kind of start utilizing technology to make their creativity like jump by leaps and bounds is like kind of where I am very interested in this, and just my personal utilization of technology for the most part. So essentially what it's doing is it's helping teachers and students incorporate like drawing, video, photo, music, which would be the art and STEAM, into subjects that are already being taught. So they're launching it out through it's middle school first, so I believe 5th through 8th grades.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense
Yeah.
age group wise to me. And then once they see how it goes with that, they're gonna plan on kind of incorporating it into the elementary school first, I believe, actually before they go into high school.
Well,
So
I love this. I love the idea
I do
of
too.
bringing back the art into education, because it is for those who can create around these complex mathematical equations,
Right.
around these covalent bonds in science, or around the aerodynamic intensity of a plane when you're talking physics and things like that. I think bringing back the art aspect of this, being able to just simply doodle around things, opens up a door of thinking,
Right.
of right side brain
Right.
thinking that we do need to get back to, and some kids really flourish at when you bring this aspect of learning into it, whereas other kids are literally live in this other space.
Right.
And the flip side is, from a business perspective, Google has been dominating the classroom with their Chromebooks, with their Google Classroom, with everything that they offer, from the back end services like Google Cloud Print and things like
Right.
that migrate people away from having to have Active Directory and domain structures and print servers. Google is literally building out areas where you can work a full classroom without leaving their web browser.
Well, the thing is too is that Apple has like starting to come up with an answer to that, in that they have dropped like the price of their, so they have what they call an education price for their lowest model iPad, which is apparently all you would need to run this. And by the way, like it comes with 300 lesson plans and
Nice.
like grouped into 4 like project guides. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback on what you initially said, and I think it's bigger than just bringing the art to I think it's finally acknowledging that crossroad that we're at, where creatives utilize so much technology
Sure.
to do their job. Graphic designers, videographers, animators, marketers these days. I mean, it's acknowledging that crossroad, not just kind of adding it in, but that there is a very direct, intersect between how creatives are using technology. And I think it's a way to bring in those kids that are kind of like the art kids, you know what I mean, to bring them into this kind of STEM world a bit,
Yeah.
and vice versa, and show the kind of the kids that you kind of refer to that are, there are some, like you said, that are
Very
at that intersection, and they're
analytical.
very like
Yeah.
they're in that
Yeah.
world, like
Yeah. A
that's
to
what
B.
makes sense to them. They're A to B kind of people, and I think it's a way to show them as well, like ways that technology can be used in ways that are
Yeah.
artsy.
Yeah. It brings value to both sides of the table.
Absolutely.
For those out there that are parents, we want to know what you think. Do you think this is a wise idea for Apple to now include a more educationally focused product and service into the classroom to compete against their Google counterpart? Please shoot us an email, technocrats@thesphere.tv, or for those that are listening to this right now via Spotify, hit us up on social media @thesphere.tv. Use our coveted hashtag Technocrats. We want to know what you think. And of course, at the end of the day, this will control your coins. Speaking of those coins being controlled by Apple or Google, because you got to pay for those products and services, this particular portion of the show is sponsored by the Houston Housewives of Finance. So did you know that only 4 states in the United States offer financial education? 33% or more than 77 million of Americans don't pay their bills on time. 39% of Americans carry credit card debt from month to month. And 39% of adults say that they don't have enough in savings. Don't become one of these statistics, folks. Let Houston Housewives of Finance advise you on increasing your cash flow and becoming your own money manager by scheduling your complimentary personal financial strategy. Contact Houston Housewives of Finance today at area code 844-700-4463, or send them an email over to info@houstonhousewivesoffinance.com. Ask them how you can participate in a complimentary, yes, I said complimentary personal financial literacy workshop near you. Houston Housewives of Finances are the new faces of the new age of financial services. And I know this to be true. Guess what? Because I got my kids squared away, and I ain't even got kids yet, folks. So Houston Housewives of Finance, they're out there doing their thing. There's a branch probably close to you, so make sure you give them a call today. Let's pivot slightly away from the digital trends into something that's a lot more day-to-day for people.
Yes.
And that's Mobility Weekly. Yes. So here in Mobility Weekly, we talk mobile. And of course, that means we're talking about your cell phone, but that also means that we're talking about peripherals that you carry around with you so that you have that productivity popping each and every day. Something in particular that a lot of people are dealing with right now is this new batch of iPhones. And I think one of the most astounding things surrounding the idea of these new iPhones is every iteration, there's always something in the begining that gives people this,
like
this
we're not
negative
doing
feeling,
it. We're gonna wait,
right? And this one, we talked about this last week. So those that are tuned in right now, make sure you catch last week's episode. New iPhones came out.
Yes.
The XS, the XS
XR.
Max, and then of course the XR. Nobody really even knows what XR stands for.
No,
whatever.
we don't know.
But what we do know is that those bad boys ain't charging.
That's
what we
all.
know.
We do know
And
that.
it has now been confirmed that Apple does have a problem with the XX and the XX Max charging. And guess what, folks? This is a serious problem.
It actually is.
Imagine the idea that you've got this brand new iPhone rolling iOS 12 beta or iOS 12 release version, and you plug in that lightning cable or you drop it on that wireless pad and it's not charging. You're not getting any juice to that thing. That is a bad situation.
I can tell you what happened to me personally. With
Talk
that.
about it. What's up?
Like 2 weeks ago, right? So it was just one of those days where everything that could go wrong went wrong, right? So I locked my keys in my car twice in 2 days because anyway. So the point is that the second day it happened, I was having a charging issue with my iPhone.
Wow.
And I was going to the car to get a charger out of it because I have 4 chargers in my house. None of them were charging the phone.
And you thought it was the cable.
It was.
We talked about this last week,
yes,
right?
it was the cable because the one cable that had been working was the one that was in my car, which is why it was in my car.
Okay.
But with my son's iPad, all the other 4 cables that I had, so I knew the cables were working because they were charging his iPad. Just weren't charging and they wouldn't charge my phone. So I go out there to get it and I lock my keys in the car. And because of the charging port issue that I was having, I had 4 perfectly good iPhone chargers right there. Could use 0 of them.
That's crazy.
So then I ended up having to go to my neighbor and be like, hey, can I use your phone to call a locksmith to get into the thing? And then do you mind if they call you back on your phone? Because I don't have a phone. It was crazy. And then when they came at 9 o'clock to unlock my door, I couldn't go. I couldn't get an Apple appointment until 5:30 the next day. So I was all that whole day and night without a phone, and it was just annoying. And it was like, why? I had gone out and bought 4 cables that day, thinking it's got to be the cable, but no, it was the phone.
Man, ain't that something? And guess what? This occurred, or iOS 12 released on September 17th. We're talking 3 plus weeks that they've had in order to fix this. Now, they do have a 12.1 beta out that appears to be addressing some of the issues for this iPhone charging debacle. Yes, I'm going to call it a debacle. But hopefully, I think the biggest hope right now is that the iPhone XR, which will come with 12.1 stock, won't have this same issue.
Well, that's what I gathered from the article, that they're kind of like, oh, but the XR is okay. And it's like
and here's the thing. I think the biggest problem, at least from my perspective, is the clout that Apple has.
Right.
That you can have such a widespread issue and allow it to go unaddressed, unaddressed for such a long period of time. I mean, a few hours without being able to charge your phone.
How many boardrooms did that have to get through to where they were just like, well, we're just going to
Well, there's
choose to not address it.
And there's a mention of a popular YouTuber who owns, and I'm going to pull up the actual information here, a dude on YouTube named Louis Helsintiger, a.k.a. Unboxed Theory. He's got about 12 million or so subscribers. I'm sure for those that are tuned in right now, y'all may subscribe to Unboxed Theory as well, as well. But he highlighted the issue, which many believe is one of the reasons why Apple decided to address it when they did, simply because you now have popular people who have the
reach.
What do I want to call them? You've got the Apple
influence.
fanboys on their back, right?
He went there.
He's got his team on his back, and he's like, "Yo, Apple, this is a problem."
He's got his riders, and he's like, "I'm putting it out there. I'm saying what I said. I said what I said, and they're coming with me. And saying what I said. So fix it, or you're gonna have a major problem."
Exactly, and of course, Marcus Brownlee. Shout out to MKBHD. He's been doing his thing. One of the brightest and strongest people, period, in the technology space. One of the best YouTubers out there, and he made mention of this as well. And I just want to know. Obviously, you've had the issue. I haven't had the issue. Mike, you use an iPhone or no? No, Mike doesn't use an iPhone, so Mike's good.
I've had this issue with my last 3 iPhones. Literally the only, and then I get to Apple and they're like, "Oh, well, thankfully your phone is only 3 days from the warranty." If I had waited 3 more days, or this had happened 3 days later, I'd have been shelling out $250 for a new iPhone. They need to get their entire life. I love you, Apple, but really figure it out.
Well, for those that are rocking the beta right now, we want to know how you're doing with
it.
Let
us know. Let us know.
Yeah, if you watch this on iTunes video, or you listen to the audio on Google Play Music, let us know. Are you still having an issue? Did you upgrade to the beta 12.1 to fix this? How are you charging your phone? We want to know what's going on. Hit us up at the Sphere TV. Use our hashtag Technocrats. Let us know what's going on. And of course, like we told y'all when we started, Facebook Livers, we can't keep you all day. We got a complete show. We got more articles and things to talk about. Of course, we want to talk about New Zealand and what's going on over there with your phones. We want to talk about this new Microsoft Surface 6 Pro.
Yes.
I'm even make mention of the new Google Pixel 3. So we got stuff to talk about, but you got to go subscribe. So head over to sphere.tv /Technocrats. And folks, that's a new website. We've got some options for you up there. You can find us on Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, all your major platforms, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Amazon, Alexa. We're anywhere and everywhere podcasts can be found. And of course, while you're there, share it out. Share it with your family, your friends, share it with your colleagues, share it with your other tech gurus and buddies. Share it out on YouTube, whatever you want to do to pass the knowledge along that we're talking about the ins and outs of technology for you all, and give us that criticism. We want to know how we're doing. So make sure you hit those stars, especially in iTunes, because that helps with our ranking in iTunes. But give us that constructive criticism so we can build a better technology show for you all. And of course, last but not least, if you love what we're doing, sow a seed. Head over to sphere.tv /donate. We got a couple of options. You can do a single donation with the little small black button, or you can hit the bigger button that says donate on Patreon. And that's going to have a subscription-based donation to get some concrete dollars and content that's especially for you. So, show's not over, folks, but make sure you subscribe right here at the Sphere. So let's keep this party rolling. I'm just throwing ads around. Throwing it around. So staying within our Mobility Weekly, let's hop on the other side of the planet and take a look at a beautiful place where they shot
such a gorgeous location.
Yeah, they shot Lord of the Rings over there. A lot of parts of Lord of the Rings were shot right here in New Zealand.
And this is one of the places I've always wanted to go.
Yeah, it looks like a beautiful spot.
I haven't been yet.
And there's a big problem though for those who are traveling over there.
Big problem.
When you hit the border, folks. If you're not willing to give up that
password, you're going to have some problems.
It might hit you in your pockets.
So let's talk about
it. Let's talk about what's going on over here in New Zealand.
So, apparently, there is a little law there that has been enacted just this week. Mm-hmm. It's been on the books for a little while, but just enacted, called the Customs and Excise Act of 2018. And apparently, what that says is that is that Border Patrol, Customs can confiscate and retain your phone y'all, this is crazy. If they can confiscate and retain your phone, and so essentially what happens is they can say, we want the password to your phone because we have reason to believe that there may be something in there that we don't, something going on with you that we don't want you entering the country. There doesn't necessarily have to be there doesn't have to be a warrant. There doesn't have to be any like formal. It just has to be like, we've decided that we want the password to your phone.
Yep.
And if you decide to not comply with that, then you are fined $3,200.
And that's 5,000
That's
New Zealand
5,000
dollars.
New Zealand dollars, 3,200 American dollars. And you can also face prosecution. And also, even if you put up this $3,200, there's no guarantee that you're getting in. So it's not like they're like, oh, we think you're suspicious, pay this $3,200 and get a visa. Like, they're like, you need to pay us $3,200 just to automatically not send you back.
That's crazy.
Like, just for us even to look in it and determine if we think you are a threat to our country, we're going to need $3,200. And we can potentially arrest you if you don't comply.
So, and from what I'm understanding, and I want to make sure we clarify this. So, if they, and please tell me from your understanding, if they refuse to comply, they get to the border, they want access in.
Right.
Customs says, hey, let me see your phone. Unlock your phone for me, first and foremost. Unlock it for me. I want to look through it, make sure there's nothing that's going to cause any
let's
issues.
just get that straight. It's give me your password.
Yeah.
It's not like unlock your phone and hand it. It's like hand over what your password is.
Yeah, and I may have to look into the Customs and Excise Act 2018 and maybe the CNN and how they're wording it, because it's a little. It is a little misleading.
So just to clarify, it's not that. So just to put some perspective into it, out of 14 million travelers coming through customs in New Zealand in 2017, only 537 were asked to give up their passwords. So I mean, in the context of like, we're talking about, over 14 million people, and 537 isn't, a grossly large number at all.
It's small.
But essentially what it comes down to is that what the real issue here is that there seems to be, and for the record, the New Zealand Council of Civil Liberties is opposed to this. Okay, so the like a lot of the like New Zealand government in and of itself is not necessarily feeling this, simply because the real issue comes in that you don't need a warrant. It's quote unquote probable cause, but there's no real definition as to what that means. So is it just a customs official doesn't like what you're wearing or doesn't like the way you look that day, and so you become, which could be true, and so you become flagged, and now you know what I mean? Is it that thing? So that's the real thing. It's not like they're saying, well, there's no solid kind of guide for like what constitutes a probable cause in this situation. And given that they don't have to have any warrants, it's literally like you're kind of luck of the drawing at. You buy a ticket to New Zealand, which isn't very cheap coming from the US. You buy a ticket to New Zealand and you get there and you don't know if you're going to be singled out and someone's going to say, hey, we want to see your phone because we feel some kind of way about you.
Yeah, and that's heavy. And for those that are listening to us or watching this right now, I want to make sure I'm going to read from the New Zealand actual and I didn't scroll up a little too far from the actual article. It's a long. This particular piece is long. Data in electronic devices that are subject to controls of customs, and it mentions in here this is applicable to any electronic device that is subject to the control of customs or that customs officer has reasonable cause to suspect is subject to the control of customs because of it holding data that may be searched in accordance with the following powers. And there's several powers, but basically the power to make an initial search if customs feels that there is reasonable cause to suspect that a person's possession of the device is involved in the commission of relevant offending. And then of course it lists all the offenses that the customs officer has the power to then hold you for. So you may want to double check.
And the other thing too to throw in there real quick is that there was something like I just had something and then I lost it.
No, it's okay.
Like, oh,
But there's a
the
lot.
argument was being made, by the New Zealand Council of Civil Liberties, who is against this, was that, it's very easy for criminals to, travel with remove SIM cards right before, to do different things. It's so easy to circumvent this law that it seems like it's more of a problem for people who have nothing going on other than just trying to travel to New Zealand
It's more of a headache
than it does actually helping the problem. And especially when you don't have clear I know they list all these things like, well, this, but essentially they're just, it seems to me when I read them all is that they're covering all their bases to be able to say, well, this is probable cause, and like there's no actual warrant necessary. They can just decide like, hey, we feel like you're suspicious, essentially is what I gathered from it. Like, we feel like you're suspicious, and if you want to even attempt to get in this country, you're going to have to pay us $3,200 and you still might not.
Still might.
So
Still
think
might
about
not.
that New Zealand trip you guys might be planning on
Yeah.
in the near future.
Question that thing.
Yes, for sure. For sure. So this portion of the show, ladies and gentlemen, is sponsored by The Sphere. Are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue, coupled with your strategic ad, is surely to hit the mark every time. Call today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv.
Gunshots.
Boom.
So, last but not least, up to the bat,
Yes.
someone that I hold dear to my heart. Let me tell y'all why. I brought my tone down because I want to make sure I get the thought across for those that are just listening right now. You're not watching this, but you're listening to this on the audio version of this podcast. Microsoft has been a love of my life for quite some time. I'm talking Windows NT. I'm talking Windows 3.1. I'm talking Windows 95. I'm talking 98 second edition. I mean, I've been with Microsoft literally since the beginning.
Hashtag Throwback Thursday.
I mean, real rap. I've been there since 25 hard disks to install Windows 3.0. I remember.
How much of our audience actually even knows what he's talking about?
Even
right now?
knows what a hard disk is. They're thinking of a hard drive, and I'm talking a hard
disk, y'all.
Y'all, come on, 1.44. I mean, we're having a real conversation right now.
We're having a moment over
I've
here.
been with them since the beginning of what they called their Surface brand, when they decided to bring out a laptop that had the dual role of a tablet when they invented or created Windows 8. And it was a flop. Let's just keep it above.
bad.
It was
I'm glad you said it because I was like, oh God, I hope it
However,
doesn't.
I used that thing to the tip dried up on the digital pen. I mean, I sold it. I sold that thing
You
and
managed
skipped
to
the second.
sell
Yeah,
it?
I sold my first one and then bought the Surface 3. I skipped the Surface 2, bought the Surface 3, and that was when I think it was still had like Windows 8.1 on that, and it was right when we were ready to transition into, past Longhorn and all the other code names and looking into this developer's edition of Windows 10. And then, boom, Windows 10 comes out, and it gives you the best of both worlds when it comes to Windows 7 and what Windows 8 tried to do.
Right.
Since then, Microsoft has continued to iterate in their Surface brand, and I believe that they've done nothing but get better and better. And of course, today, folks, now we've got the Surface Pro 6.
The 6.
I am happy
Are you?
for this device. This, I think, is a pure work of art. No, let me not gas it. This Surface is built just like the Surface 5 and pretty close to all the other Surfaces, folks. But for those that are looking for iteration of the Microsoft Surface, and you're looking for a tablet that duals as a laptop, I think this is a pretty good direction to go.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
From the Macintosh enthusiast
Sure.
in the room who uses absolutely nothing but Apple, for better or worse. Let's say I'm coming to you and I'm like, explain to me if and or why this Surface Pro is better than a iPad Pro that I can hook a keyboard up to. Why is the Surface Pro what I need to go with? Because it kind of ties into our school story with
Sure.
Apple, because that's what they're trying to compete against right now, is all the schools that have gone with the.
Well, I think they're more that competition, as we talked about earlier, is more against Google, because the Google Classroom
That's
is
true.
dominating.
It is pretty killer.
And I mean, even in schools, and I'm in schools not every day of the week, but every week I'm in a classroom somewhere when it comes to IT, and I'm either looking through infrastructure, or I'm making changes or new build outs and recommendations, or I'm walking with superintendents, and I'm seeing what they're utilizing. And Windows boxes are they're dinosaurs when it comes to the classroom as far as student use, right? Especially from a virus perspective, and this goes into what your question is, compatibility, usability, things like that. Things are getting easier, and it's so much easier to pop up a Chromebook, a Chrome browser, than it is to try to install updates, connect to Active Directory, and do all these other things on a Windows box. In respects to Apple, what I wouldn't do is ever try to suggest using a Surface over an iPad Pro. And let me tell you why. Apple destroyed or devoured the app ecosystem with the original App Store.
Yes, they did.
Even when Google came up with their App Store, it took a very long time before the Android store became polished.
Yeah, because I remember when it was like, oh, that was one of the iPhone claims of fame in the very beginning. Like, we've already got that app.
Yeah,
we gotta wait for that.
Yeah, and you literally did have to wait for apps.
Right.
And now it's a different story. Obviously, the apps are neck and neck. In some situations, you can't tell the difference between the Android version or the Apple version.
Right.
But when it comes to Microsoft specifically, their store is still lackluster. They've got, over 1 million apps, but they're still nowhere near what Google offers, let alone what Apple offers when it comes to the polish and professionalism of their apps. So with that being said, you have to have a direct need for Windows. You have to have a direct need to work in a Microsoft environment or a Windows environment, because if you don't, then it's always more advantageous, especially of an Apple user, to stay in an Apple ecosystem, moving from device to device.
So for some of the listeners who might not know what that is, what would you say would be some of the key uses for wanting to be on a Microsoft-based system?
And that's exactly what I'm ahead to. So when we're talking Surface, folks, we're talking power users. We're not talking about the standard person who just wants to grab some, a web browser, wants to check a little email, wants to play some games,
maybe watch a little Netflix,
wants to consume versus produce.
Right.
And so I think that a lot of times that conversation needs to be thought out and be a bit more methodical when it comes to picking your hardware. This type of hardware, when we're talking about the Surface Pro, this is for people who are creating content. First, you've got a great pen to utilize. You've got the proper touch and precision at 1024 now, upping it originally from 256 on their Surface, where they backed it down from 1024 down to 256 and realized that people had problems.
Yes.
They have to take it back up over the several iterations, back up to 1024 touch on their pen. But we're talking about your fastest 8 generations, the i5s and i7 processors. We're talking about coming out the bat with 8 gigs of RAM at a minimum, 16 gigs of RAM at a maximum, with up to 1 terabyte of storage space on your larger Surface Pro. And when I say larger, I'm talking about storage and speed, not larger in size, because guess what?
They're all the same.
They're still staying at the 12.3-inch screen. High definition, obviously, you're going to get that, but that comes with the price tag. And I can't even tell you, I can't even tell you what the 1 terabyte costs, but I will tell you, according to Microsoft on their website right now, you can get the i7 at 16 gigs with a half a terabyte storage at $18.99. We're talking almost $2,000 for this 12-inch device.
See,
that doesn't even come with the keyboard.
the lesson there being, folks, is do your research and be true to yourself about what you are really utilizing your device for. Because I see so many people go out and buy things they don't need. They spend all this money and they complain, oh, well, this was so much money and I spent. And I'm like, you probably could have gotten something half of that for what you're actually utilizing it for. So, you know, I have to tell myself this too, because my first inclination is always to go with an Apple. But, you know, where I first kind of found for the design stuff that I do, was like I kind of inherited a Linux machine.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I kind of like this free source situation. And I was like able to find a lot of things that were really, really awesome that I couldn't find in the Apple store. And I was kind of like, okay, I can see how this can work. And so that was kind of my first dallying into like, oh, maybe for the design, you know, the creative, the, you know, aspect of what I'm doing every day, it might not be the best.
Well, and that's
platform.
I think you hit the head on the nail. And it's always about, you know, and for those that are watching this right now on YouTube, it's always about making sure you've got the best device for your use case. Don't buy it because it's cool, right? Don't run out and go get the latest MacBook Pro because somebody said you should have a MacBook Pro, or you're just following the culture of things. Right. Some of us, I use a Surface Pro every day. I also use a MacBook Pro every day. When I'm out in the field and I'm working, I have a Surface Pro. When I'm at home, I have a MacBook Pro. It's very rare I take my Surface Pro out of my tech bag and use it at home. It is very, very rare I take my MacBook Pro and use it in the work field, because there's things that I need to do with work that I cannot do on a MacBook. I just can't. There are ports that I need that are just not available.
Yes,
so
that whole
Yeah.
Switching over to the USB.
Well, yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation. And I will say this, speaking of USB-C, here's the fault that I have with this Surface Pro. It still, folks, does not have a USB-C port on it. No, they still have your full-size USB 3.0, which is great for some. Right. They've got your mini display port, which you can have your dongles and adapters to go to VGA or go to HDMI, whatever you need to connect to. But still, for those that are moving forward in society, and even Apple has done,
USB-C is the way to go.
USB-C. Now, what I'm waiting on is for all devices to charge via USB-C, including
that's been a big thing with Apple, is that they give their new MacBook, switched to solely USB-C. But it's real annoying right now,
for
because
those who aren't accustomed to that.
Right, and it's actually a way better USB.
Yeah, I mean USB-C. It's versatile.
You don't have to bring you could bring one charger and do everything.
Yeah, you can. I mean, and you can daisy chain through USB-C.
Right.
So you've got an opportunity to do a lot of things in USB-C you can't do. The problem is we need other people to buy on. The problem is some devices shouldn't just have one, which obviously Apple has fixed. We shouldn't just have one USB-C port. You should have a plethora of USB-C ports, and maybe even a regular size USB 3.0 port. Because you're always still going to have that situation where you might need it.
Every device for at least the next little while should stick with at least one.
And I'm only giving a little while, maybe 12 months.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe for the next year, they should have at least one, because it's a lot to transition everybody over right away.
It is a lot. It's a lot to transition, and at the end of the day, you want to be able to smile about the product you have. Right. You want to be able to smile
buying
with
80,000 dongles.
Yeah, I got dongles on dongles. That's all you have. It happens.
That's the Apple life.
And those are frowns, folks. When you got to carry around all these dongles.
Not cool.
Speaking of smiles, this last portion of the show right here has been sponsored by Elite Dental Wellness. I almost went to a different ad. Did you hear me?
Hold on.
I was about to call up Smiles. So, at Elite Dental Wellness, our vision is to create a welcoming practice that will offer exceptional dental care and a lifetime of dental wellness. We're committed to the finest possible oral care and overall health and well-being of our patients. Elite Dental Wellness is built upon a foundation of integrity, expertise, and service. Through our commitment to modern dentistry, continuing education, and a friendly atmosphere, we strive to make our patients feel that they're part of our family. Dentistry can be scary, daunting, and uncomfortable. However, Dr. Bertice and her team work tirelessly to ensure your comfort. Make your appointment today with Dr. Chandra Batiste at Elite Dental Wellness by calling 713-789-8680. And if you mention the Sphere, you receive 10% off your dental service. So make sure you reach out to Elite Dental Wellness, folks. Get that smile together, because you want to be happy when you're pulling off with these brand new shiny Surface Pro 6s and MacBook Pros and all these other things. Last thing that wasn't on the Run the Show, I'm not going to put up an article or do any deep dive as we run to the end of this. New hardware is popping up left and right. One of the biggest things that I'm a proponent of, and I'm going to take those back who are rolling with me. I was the man when it came to Google Nexus devices.
Wow.
That was their answer, so to speak, to the iPhone. In particular, I was going to say the smartphone, but to the iPhone. And Google came out with iteration after iteration of Nexus. October 9th.
My birthday.
That's your birthday?
It is.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. October 9th. Google will be announcing their newest device, in which they've transitioned, for those that have been on the Google roadmap, they've transitioned from Nexus over to Pixel. And they're on their Pixel 3, which will be unveiled on October 9th. We, of course, will have that conversation here on Technocrats during our regularly scheduled broadcast, but I want to make sure those that are tuned in, you are prepared for the next iteration of the Android smartphone. And usually when you rock with a Google handset, something that they've built, you're getting the AOSP experience, the Android operating system, how shall I say, their basic level, no additives. You're getting it straight from Google. You get the fastest updates like that. You get no bloatware when it comes to your device. So this is very similar to what an iPhone user experiences, because all your software comes from Apple.
Right.
And so everything works, except for charging. Everything works as expected right out of the box. So just be on the lookout for that. I want to make sure I mention that, because obviously that will occur before our next show. So
there are a lot of Pixel users out there that are super hype.
Pixel 2 people ready to move up to the Pixel 3. And, of course, those who are still rocking the Nexus 6 or the Nexus 5, I'm pretty sure y'all are ready to move into a Pixel. And this may be an opportunity for you.
Hey,
so
never know.
Another great show, my dear. What else you got coming up this week? Anything for the people?
You know, no. I don't know. Yesterday, my son turned 5, so I'm kind of still recovering from like that whole situation. I'm just chilling, man. How about you?
I'm just doing my thing.
Right?
You know, doing the usual. I'll be in. Oh, you know what? I may be out next week.
Are you out next week?
We'll talk about it.
Uh-oh.
I'll let you know. We may have to record early. I think I have a flight on Thursday.
Oh no.
I do have a flight on Thursday.
Wow.
I'll be in NYC. We'll talk.
You going?
Yeah, I'll be in New York for. Yeah, I know, right? I'm coast hopping.
Coast hopping.
You know what's funny?
You know I'm from New Jersey, so
I'm supposed to be in Florida this weekend, and then I ended up not going because I was going to the what was it? The FAMU versus Miami game in Miami, but we could end up not being able to get a ticket. So I was like, I ain't no point in me going down there if I can't get into the game, and I wasn't finna buy a ticket for the game. So
I'm a New Jersey native, so going to my neck of the woods. Have fun.
Yeah, I will kick. I'll be up there with some Jersey folks. So we'll make that Orange County conversation, my dear.
Please do.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Let the good people know where they can reach you at, my dear.
You guys can find me on Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Dish with Ari. Hit me up, you guys. Let us know if there's any topics that you might want to discuss next week. If you have any comments to anything we discussed this week, we'd love to revisit it with y'all.
Good deal. And of course, if you can reach me anywhere online, folks, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snappity chatting at G Hawkins. That's G Hawkins with a Z. And if you got any questions about what we do here at the show, shoot us an email, technocrats at thesphere.tv, or hit us across social media platforms at thesphere TV. Use our hashtag Technocrats. Yes, Technocrats. I whispered that because I want everybody. Now I want everybody to know. Use our hashtag Technocrats.
Technocrats.
We will definitely get back with you. This has been another electrifying episode.
Yes.
We will see y'all next time. Take care, folks.